So, good morning. By show of hands, how many of you like a peaceful classroom?
Oh, sure.
Okay. By show of hands, how many of you already have a peaceful classroom? Oh, okay. All right. And how many of you are ready to make a greater impact in their classroom, to have a peaceful classroom? All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming here this morning. I want to welcome you to the next 60 minutes. We're going to go on a journey through the lasting impact of our words, not just the words that we say, but the words how we say them, and our non-verbal communication. I'm very grateful to be here today. Actually, I want to point out one person. Alita, I'm going to put you on the spot. Will you stand up really quick, please? She was my mentor. I want to give a round of applause to Alita. Thank you, Alita. Alita is my mentor from way back then, and I'm not going to date you or her for this matter. But I'm very honored to be here. My name is Brigitta Hoeferle. I'm the owner and founder of the Montessori School of Cleveland, Tennessee. So we drove about 2.5, 3 hours this morning. My husband and I moved to the United States in 2004, in July 2004. And our oldest daughter, who's sitting right here, who's taping, Amelie, she's been a Montessori child from day one. She's been in the classroom with me. Alita remembers when I was highly pregnant with our second daughter, and there's actually a really funny story around that. I just have to tell it real quick. I had one of those, Pilates balls that I could only sit on because I was so pregnant, and I was taking some classes with Alita, and every time I rolled or sit up, it sounded like I'm farting, which I wasn't. But anyway, that's just some fun stories that came up just now out of the back of my mind. So fun time. As you can tell, I like to have fun. If you don't like having fun in the next 60 minutes, you better get out right now, because fun is all about learning. And when we open our minds and we love to have fun, that's when true information is going to go right past our logic mind into our subconscious mind. And that's what we're all about. That's what education is all about. So our youngest daughter was born here in the United States in Cleveland, Tennessee. Both of our daughters speak fluent German and English. They were brought up with both languages from the day they were born. And actually our daughter, who's 13, Amelie, who's sitting here in the front row, and I'm going to pick on her a little bit more, has her own website now. So if you're interested in hers, AmelieHoeferle.com. Why does she have her own website, I've been asked, at age 13? Well, because she's interested in it, A, and B, because I've supported her all her life. I've always spoken positivity into her. I have always spoken energy and uplifting words into her, which allowed her to be the person that she is today. Because it doesn't start when they're teenagers. It doesn't start when they go to college. It starts before they're born. Like Maria Montessori said, education starts at birth. Actually, education starts before birth. And I can tell you many, many times when Amelie said, I know this song. It's mostly a classical song. I know this song. And I go, yeah, I played it for you while you're in the womb. It was soothing for me. It was soothing to you, and you remember that. And many, many years she hasn't heard that. And again, it's the subconscious mind. Back to me, I studied social pedagogy in Germany, and in addition to my teaching degree, I have a marketing degree. I'm proud to be a certified Montessori teacher and directress for the past 10 years, and I'm also a certified dream and life coach. I also speak at on many stages. My school was established out of my commitment to my children and to the commitment of other children. I've stepped fully into my purpose of making a difference in this world, not just for my children, but on a much, much greater scale. And I can see by the passion that I see in the eyes of many of you, that's your passion as well. I'm a missionary's kid. Some people say those were the worst kids. I'm not going to say anything. Just look at my hair. My father was the superintendent for the Middle Eastern countries for the Church of God, and I've seen and experienced a lot of poverty and events as we were traveling around that I just can't make unseen. We've lived abroad many times, and I was always the outsider coming back into a school, and I was left behind in school. And That was not a fun time. I was always trying to catch up with the others. I was always trying, and the word is trying, I never was successful in it. I was always trying to fit in. My parents didn't have time for me. My mom was an entrepreneur, my dad was a missionary. And they always told me, you're too loud, you're too obnoxious. You ask too many questions. Until I finally stopped asking questions. And then my grades in school went south. I lost the open line of communication with my parents, with my teachers, with my peers. And it was pretty sad. How many of you can relate to that story? But through these experiences and through those times of, I'm going to get a little vulnerable with you at times, okay? Through those experiences, I realized what my true passion and mission is in life. As I was healing, I am able to heal others with me. And as we heal them at a very young age, we can really make a difference, because isn't it easier to lift a child up than to heal an adult, or fix an adult, if you will. So in the past 3 years, I've coached over 200 individuals, as young as 5 years. Boy, and there's some stories out there. And as old as 77 years, in all areas of life. Behavior, positive communication, life skills, self-development, health and nutrition, that's a big one. Business, wealth, goal setting, you name it. I've been on that journey of developing myself so I can make a difference for the past 20 years and really impacting people from around the world. I have some folks right now that I'm coaching down in Australia, and I'm a little, when it comes to time differences, I'm not the best. So anyway, so today I stand here to hold the space for you, and I encourage you to open up to what we're about to go through. That is my purpose in life. And I celebrate you for taking the time this morning to get up on a Saturday morning, to stretch yourself and further your knowledge so you can bring that back in your classroom and make a difference there. And you probably heard this, if you don't grow and learn, you die. And it never ends. That's why Alita's sitting here, it never ends, right? So I want you to find a partner. I want you to turn to a neighbor and pat them on the shoulder and say, thank you for being here. Thank you. And if you don't have one, someone find someone that you can pat. So by the end of today's session, you'll have, I'm going to put this word on you. Can you guys read this? And I don't have the prettiest handwriting as one teacher. Clarity. Clarity. By the end of today, you'll have more clarity on how your voice and your words have a lasting impact. And you have an idea what's next for you. The possibilities are really within you, and you will be taking your notes with you and the ideas that were triggered, not just in here, but overall of today, and you will bring that back into your classroom. You will bring more fun and ideas to your team and your classroom. Now that sounds pretty cool, I think, because I'm going to learn a whole lot today as well. How many of you agree that when you have fun and you're enthusiastic and you can make a difference in your workspace, and you certainly make a huge difference in your students, and I'm going to say it, the parents of the students. The results reflect in those students, and you make a greater impact on the world, and you contribute to that world peace. That's a very, very meaningful and deep purpose that I think we all share. So, that's enough about me. As we get to know each other, I'm going to go through some stories. Would it be okay if I share some stories with you guys?
Yes.
So the other day, I was giving a school tour at my school. I was accommodating a mom who was there with her child. She's eight, touring the elementary classroom. And we were looking at everything and took time. And the mother and I were then sitting in the conference room, and I asked her open-ended questions of what her expectations are, and time getting to know, where she's coming from, where they'd like to go, and all of this. And the child was not in the room, and I started listening to her nagging voice. You see, Here's what's wrong with Karina. And I changed the name. She can't ride a bike. She can't concentrate. Therefore, she doesn't learn anything. She can't interact with anyone. She can't sit still. She can't really read. She can't do this. And I was going, oh, wow. So I stopped her for a moment, and we just sat in that silence. And I was thinking, maybe she notices what she's really doing here. And then she continued. She's on all these medications. She has this, and cerebral palsy, and this, and that, and the other. She's just a trouble kid. I don't know what to do. So I stopped her again. I kindly asked her, so tell me all the wonderful attributes that are right about Karina. And sadly enough, she couldn't say. It was the tone of her voice. It was the words that she spoke about her. But even worse, I know that child has heard it over and over and over and over and over and over again for 8 years. How many of you can relate to that? Some of you might even sit here and say, that's me. In this case, I don't start with a child. In this case, I start with a parent. Because it's very clear where the root of the problem is. It's not the child. I start coaching the parent, and that's what I told her. We looked at the nutrition of the child. We looked at her words, and I'm very aware of what she was saying and how she was saying it. And I asked her very, very abruptly, do you speak like that in front of her? And she goes, yeah, she knows what's wrong with her. She knows what's wrong with her. And I don't know if this is a good school for her. And I said, well, what are your options? This child clearly needs someone that speaks positive to her, but she also needs to hear that at home. So we're going to start with you. And I'm going to start coaching you. And you're going to pay me. Lots. Because there's not enough money to coach parents sometimes, right? Who can relate to that? Alita's going, hell yeah. So that's one of the things that I do. And if you're not good in coaching parents, you just call me. I love to be of service to you. Okay, anyway, not going down that rabbit hole. Actually, I have some of these see me cards. So if you shake my hand and you need more information, just reach out to me, please. So the words we speak to ourselves, because it starts with who? It starts with me. It starts with me right here. The words we speak to ourselves and to others create our reality. Whether they're positive or they're negative. It's the same effort. It starts with the awareness. So when I say, oh, it's a Saturday morning, golly, it's 5:58, and this is going to be a horrible day, and you put your feet on the ground, guess what? You already manifested it. It's going to be a hell horrible day, and it's just going to go downwards from there. But I can also choose to get up 5:58 and say, hey, I love my life. It's going to be an awesome day. I'm going to get to deal with parents. I get to deal with kids. I get to deal with staff. Woohoo! It's going to be awesome. And you know what? That's how you turn it around. It starts with your awareness. It starts with choosing. What is it that I want to do? So we're going to go through a little process. If you don't have anything to write, I'm going to say you're a horrible teacher. No judgment here at all. So as I was talking from my experiences of last week with that parent, how many of you thought of an event or an experience in your life, inside or outside of the classroom, where you experienced something similar? Perhaps you go way deep inside in your own childhood and hear something someone said to you, or how they made you feel. Did you see something that was incongruent with their words? Their body language said something else than their words said, their tone. I'm going to give you 2 minutes If you don't have anything to write, please ask someone to share some paper and a pen with you. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write this down. In that experience, what did you see? Was it something that you heard? And how did it make you feel? Go. I'd like for you to find a partner, and please do find a partner, and decide which one is A and which one is B. Can I see hands of A? Who's A? If you're by yourself, find a partner. Who's B? A, my A's. A, point to B, and say, B, you're it. Okay. I'd like for you to share. 90 seconds, go. I'd like to hear from 2. Who would like to share? Will you please stand up and state your name?
I'm Debbie.
Hi, Debbie.
We have a parent, I've had this parent since the child was 2.5, and now he's in our elementary program, and she's done this to him since I've known him, but it's always been that she'll talk about confidentially to adults, but then she also does it in front of him, and she'll tell him that he's lazy, he's unmotivated, why don't you understand this, you should get this by now, this should be easy for you, what's your problem? And she sees no harm in that at all. She thinks that's motivating him to get better at it.
Ooh,
and luckily he's a very, very well-mannered child and has not gone the opposite direction, but his self-esteem obviously has gone down and he doesn't want to do stuff.
How old is he now?
He is 8, 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Give her a round of applause. Yes. Please stand up and say your name. Hi, Lizzie.
Hi. I'm in my Montessori training right now. I did my observations last year. And one of the observations, there was a little boy who was deaf and in the classroom, but the teacher constantly sat him out or was interrupting his progress or moving him aside because he wasn't really going with the flow of the classroom. I don't know if he understood what he was supposed to be doing in the classroom. And there were a lot of negative comments of, we just don't know what to do with him. He's just so much work, and he needed more help than I think the teacher was able to give him. But my thought beyond it was, does the parent know how his classroom day is on a daily basis? Is she on the same page with the teacher, thinking that he's just so much help and they don't know what to do? Or is she thinking that he's coming and getting the help that she hopes that he's supposed to be getting in class? Does she even know how his day is?
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Give her a round of applause. So be really, really careful how you speak and the words that you speak to your children. Because you know what? One day, that 8-year-old, that will become his inner voice. And even though he's deaf, that's his inner voice. I don't know about you, but I'm getting goosebumps right now up and down. Every thought that we think, every word that we say, and every action that we take, and even every non-action that we not take, communicates something. The problem with not being at cause or being incongruent is to the extent that we refuse to take responsibility for creating everything that happens around us. We are in charge as we speak positive and uplifting words or limiting and negative words. It goes both ways. Again, if I'm going to decide I'm going to have a good day or a bad day, that's what's going to happen. You decide how you react to your events in the day. You have a choice. You are in charge of the words that you speak to yourself, or to others. It first starts with the words that you speak to yourself. But what does that exactly mean? The little voice inside your head, it keeps talking. Does it talk to you in a positive way, in an uplifting, in a supportive way? Or does it tell you, does it have a whiny voice? I don't want to do this. I really don't want to deal with this parent. I really don't want to deal with this deaf child. And this is too much work. And start listening to your own voices in your head. Because you have a choice. You can either give into those voices, or you can say, you know what? You need to shut up. And you need to listen carefully of what I say right now, because we're going to have a great day, and we're going to make a difference in that 8-year-old. We're going to make a difference in that deaf child. We're going to make a difference in the children in our classroom. And not because I say so, but because I tell it myself. Because I allow myself to speak positively with me, because it starts with me. It starts with how I treat myself. Do I beat myself up? Or do I celebrate? Do I look at the events in my life and go, oh, gee, I could have done that better? Or could I say, hey, there's one thing that went right about this, and I celebrate it. I have a choice of how I speak to myself. Getting the learnings that are required to change communications to produce different results. Most of you know the definition of insanity. You do something over and over again and you expect something different. Do the same thing over and over and you go, why is it not working? So what does it take to have, bless you, to have a positive impact with our words, the tone of voice, and the nonverbal communications? Over the past years, I've interviewed hundreds of individuals of all ages, and I've been exactly looking at this topic, the words we speak to ourselves, the words we speak onto others, the reality that creates around us, the reaction of how do we react to events. We have a choice. When a parent comes in and goes, oh, but this is wrong with my child, and this is wrong with my child, you can either buy into it and say, okay, well, let's look at the IEP. Or you can say, well, let's look at first, what is right with the child? And let's celebrate that and create a platform where we can build on and then address some things that are limiting the child and work on that. So in my 7-series webinar, I go through these 7 principles. The 7 principles of positive communication. Starts with modeling. It starts with who?
Me.
I didn't hear you. Me. It starts with me. Leading by example, your tone of voice, your body language. Are you congruent with your words? Is a child coming up to you and say, but Miss Brigitta, I have this question. Oh, what is it now? Or are you saying, I don't have the time right now, but I'd love to take time for you in a minute. Can you please wait? Ooh, I just said a word. Please. We teach that to our children all day long. Please and thank you go a long way. Starts with me. Please. Thank you. What is your body language saying? Is it saying, oh, today's going to be a really good day? Yeah, I totally not believe you want to say it like that? Your integrity really speaks louder than words. So when you're modeling, are you modeling when the doors are closed? Or are you going, oh, she's really nice? Oh, I love you. Can't stand it. Modeling. You all are models for your children. You all are models for the parents. No matter how much you like them or not like them, that's not your job to like or not like them. It's not their job to not like you or like you. You're not in that business. Because you know what? If you look on my Facebook page, it's none of my business what other people think of me. It's none of your business what other people think of you. If you are in integrity and if you're doing the right thing, you can look in the afternoon when you get home, you can look in the mirror and say, I've done something great today. I've uplifted a child. I've spoken some really positive words into a parent that was completely at loss and just didn't know what to do different because they're so stuck in their own little rut. That parent, that mom that was sitting in the chair, she was lost. She didn't know, she came from public school, she didn't know where to start. It's our job to say, hey, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Which goes to the second principle of what you're doing right now. You're listening. Too often, we just want to justify what we're doing in the classroom, and then in the parent-teacher conference, we're just talking, and the parent is listening. What if we meet the parent? What would happen if we meet with a parent and ask quality questions? You don't have to understand it. You don't have to buy into those questions, but you certainly can listen to those questions. When you speak, when you listen to a child, get on their level. Listen to what they have to say. Again, you don't have to buy in of what they're saying, but listen, take a minute, take the half a minute and listen. And celebrate their wins. Be open-minded. Know that you're not superior. You might be taller than those children in your classroom, but you're not superior. There's never a right or a wrong. If you don't know something, hey, let's find out. You know what? I don't know, but let's find out. Now you're on their level. That's where true learning is happening. When you become, this is number 3, when you become vulnerable, when you speak your truth, that's when true learning is happening. When the child sees she's not superior, she's vulnerable. There's a great TEDx talk by Brene Brown, B-R-E-N-E, Brene Brown, on vulnerability. I encourage you to YouTube it and look at it. It's a phenomenal TEDx talk. Show that you care and allow them to care as well. And when you're vulnerable and you have a bad day, and we all have bad days. I'm not saying every day is going to be perfect. I'm not saying that. But when I have a bad day, I turn around and it shows. And a child might come up to me and say, hey, Miss Brigitta, you don't have your smile on today. And then I can say, you know what? Just have a really bad headache today, or whatever it might be. And then you allow them to care for you as well. Now you're on the same level. Now you allow them to contribute to that beautiful environment and community as well. In one of my webinars, I go through the triangle. You guys know what I mean by the triangle? One's the materials, one side's the environment, and one side's the teachers. Man, I go really deep into that. Allow them to empathize with you as you allow yourself to empathize with them. And forgive. Forgiveness is part of that number 3 of that truth, vulnerability. The forgiveness. The forgiveness first to yourself, whatever you need to go through in your healing, and forgive yourself. To have a foundation where you can forgive those children, where you can forgive the parents for being like the 8-year-old, for being the way they are. Forgiving the teacher in that classroom, forgiving them. The empathy is greater than the ego. Ooh, there's a concept. And as you're listening, that goes back to number 2, listening. As you listen, let them speak. Don't correct them in the moment. Listen to what they're really saying, and then go back and do a lesson all around that. Much more valuable, much more in depth than when you say, oh no, that's wrong. Those are limiting words. You can say, what I hear you say is, and then reframe it, and perhaps you can even reframe it into a positive way of saying it. Number 4, responsibility. If you think there's one going on right now or later on in practical life, responsibility, being responsible of the environment, creating a supportive environment. Again, triangle, the supportive environment, creating ownership and encouragement, and through that self-confidence, building that self-confidence in a supportive environment. And the supportive environment, part of that is that it is uplifting, and it has the positive words around it. It has the positive body language around it. I had a little boy many years ago. He always beat himself up. He beat himself up so bad. He hit his head and he said, I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm bad at this. I just can't do this. And he beat himself up over and over a year. And I met with the mom plenty times, and I knew exactly where it was coming from. She was a marathon runner, and nothing was good for her. It was always pushing to the limit, until I took her aside. That was when I started coaching parents. And I said, look, that's bleeding over to your child. But if you speak positive and encourage him on what he can do, because he's a bright kid, then that's going to bleed over too. Just like you were telling him that nothing's good enough, and he's not good enough, and you're not good enough, and no one's good enough, you can turn that around. Because that's going to start bleeding over too. That's going to take a little bit more practice, because what you're now doing is you're turning it around, you're establishing a new habit. And we all know how long it takes to establish a new habit. It doesn't go overnight. It's not in 1 week. It takes time, especially a habit that is so ingrained and so part of her belief system, to turn that around and to become very aware of what is it that I can truly say that is uplifting to him. And then, first of all, kind of neutralizing those negative words, and then going into the habit of uplifting him and supporting him, talking really good about him, feeling good about himself. He's now 10, he's doing phenomenal. Make the positive attitudes and actions stand out when they arise. That's going into number 5. Celebration. Boy, we're really good at, well, this is not working and this is not working. You can't do that and you can't do this. But what if we focus on, like I said earlier, what if we focus on what's going right? What if we focus on, and I am not saying superficial, oh, good job. No, I am not saying that at all. I want you to find the little things that you can celebrate until those things get a little bit bigger, and then celebrate those. And then those things get a little bit bigger. See, now we're creating momentum in a positive way. Watch how just the tonality of your words, of how much of a difference that can make in a child. And instead of going, yay, you did it. Well, I don't buy it. The kid surely doesn't buy it. Really celebrate and clearly make it very, very specific what you are celebrating. Because you know what? Success is the opposite of frustration. And many of us, and I know where I'm coming from, many of us rather beat ourselves up. Oh, I didn't get this done on my to-do list today. Oh, I didn't call this person today. And I'm beating myself up rather than going, hey, I had this school tour today. I helped this kid today. I helped this parent today. And then really start focusing on what worked today rather than what not worked today. Empowering than forbidding. Again, if a child misuses a lesson, it goes away. Leave it at that. Don't, go over it over and over and over and over again. But empower them after that. This is what you can do. I'm not forbidding you to do that lesson. No, let's not focus on that. but this is what you can do. And let's do that. And then when they do that lesson, point something out that they did really, really well. Number 6, think before you speak. I know, it's a pretty foreign concept, isn't it? Your thoughts are actually before you speak, because your thoughts lead to feelings. And those feelings determine your actions. Be real. Be in alignment. If your thoughts are not supportive and you're saying something supportive, you're not in alignment. The universe will pretty much catch up on you, and it's called karma. Have integrity with what you say. You know what? My biggest integrity catcher sits right here. And when I say something, and when she hears me coach someone, and I coach them, for instance, on, have you taken care of yourself today? And I just beat myself up until 2300 at night, and she goes, Mom, how are you taking care of yourself? Ooh, that hurts. Have integrity with what you say. Be in alignment with your words. It starts with what you tell yourself. If you're telling a child to do something but it's not part of your belief system, how are you in alignment with yourself? You're not at all. Don't gossip. We're in the South. Boy, I had to learn that. Look, I mentioned I moved here from Midtown Munich, and Germans, you know, pretty much cliche is true. We're pretty in your face, harsh. This is how it is. Some people in Cleveland, Tennessee do not like me. Because I just say how it is. But I had to adapt too, and I learned to adapt over the past 11 years to not be in their face. But you don't, you know, if you want to talk behind my back, it will catch up with me. And then I decide, I have a choice. What do I want to do with you? Do I want to hang out with you, or do I not want to hang out with you? Number 7, clarity. Be specific. Don't assume. Assumptions bring misunderstandings and sadness and drama. Communicate very clearly to the child what is it that you're looking for, rather than forbidding what they're doing right now. Don't assume with anyone. And that goes back to the listening. Ask quality questions. Agree with yourself and to yourself that you're no longer going by assumptions, and see how that's going to make a difference in your life. Actually, I'm going to take this a little further. Agree for 1 week that you're not going to whine or nag or say any negative words, and see what kind of difference that makes in your life. You're going to go, could be simple. I dare you to try it. It's pretty powerful. Anyway, I go more in depth in these topics. I have 15 more minutes here. So those are the 7 principles. So ask yourself, are the words that you speak to yourself, to your staff, to your fellow staff, to your spouse, to your children, to your students, are they uplifting? Do they serve a purpose? Or sometimes would it just be better to be quiet? I'd like to go through a quick test, and I need a volunteer. Who'd like to volunteer? Alita. This is going to be fun. Come on up, Alita. Come on up, Alita. Everyone give a hand for Alita. Woo! muscle testing is? Anyone familiar? Okay, a few. Muscle testing is, and it's done by a lot of chiropractors. I'm pretty sure Alita knows what muscle testing is. Will you stand right here? Hi, Alita. Say hi, Alita.
Hi, Alita.
Muscle testing is, it tests if you are congruent or if you're in alignment, and it also, your muscles cannot lie, okay? It's tapping right into your subconscious mind or unconscious mind. And either, what is your dominant side? Right. Okay, right? So will you put your right hand out, please? Okay. And is it okay if I touch you on your shoulder?
Oh yeah.
And is it okay if I touch you on your arm?
Oh yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm gonna ask Alita, what I'm doing is I'm gently pressing down and seeing her reaction. And this is nothing that her logic mind can do. This is something very subconscious, what we're doing here. So Alita, would you please state your full first and last name, please?
Alita Ledden Decker.
Okay, you see how it's not giving. And she's gently pressing against it. Now, did we do this before together, you and I? We didn't practice this here, did we?
No.
Okay, so just making sure, just telling you guys. Okay, Alita, I want you to think of a bogus name. Can you find a bogus name? Mm-hmm. Okay, can you state that that is your name? My name is?
My name is Fearless Leader.
Well, that's a lie. I know that's not a lie, but it's not your real name either. So, Alita, did you come in a car this morning?
Yes.
Can you drive?
Yes.
Okay, so can you say, I can drive?
I can drive.
Okay, that's pretty true. Now, will you put your arm down? Will you put your arm down? Now, Alita, tell me about something that in your belief system you feel that you can't do.
In my belief system, something I can't do. Ooh.
Or what is it that you've been telling yourself, maybe just lately, I can't do this? Something that pops up?
Ooh. I'm a pretty positive person.
Yeah. This is good.
Oh, gee, something I can't do.
Can you sew? You can sew.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I can sew. Something. Oh, wait. Okay. So in a skill like that, something I can't do.
Okay. All right. Will you share it with us?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Will you put your arm out again? Okay. And now I'd like for you to state, I can't do whatever it might be.
I can't do quilting.
Thank you. Thank you. Everyone give a round of applause for Alita. Thank you. Thanks, Alita. What I'm showing you is the word can't. We just visualized the word can't. When I tell myself something that I can't do, I will not be able to do it until I first become aware that I can do it. And when Alita starts telling herself, I can do it, what's the next thing? It starts with a thought, right? What we tell ourselves. Now, if Alita chooses to, again, she can choose or not choose to do it. But if she chooses to say, you know what, I can sew, I can quilt. Thank you. I can. That's a thought. How does that start making her feel? Oh, I see all these beautiful quilts that people make, and it makes me feel good. Again, if she chooses to, she could say, I hate quilts. I think they're ugly, and I don't want to have one in my house, and that's it. That's a choice, right? If she chooses to, I could start seeing a quilt in my house and start visualizing that, the feeling around that. Ooh, maybe I could have a pretty quilt on my bed, and I could, maybe put some t-shirts from my kids that I still have boxed up somewhere in that quilt, and it starts becoming like a family quilt, and then I'll pass it on. See what I'm doing? What's the next step? Thoughts lead to feelings, and then the feelings lead to actions. She's gonna take maybe a quilting class, or maybe she'll go on YouTube and see, okay, simple steps to quilt, because she can already sew. And taking those actions, she's going to have a result out of those actions. And the result will be a beautiful quilt. Kilt. Maybe you can do a kilt. A kilt and a quilt. There you go. So again, starts with me. With who? Me. Starts with me. It starts with the thoughts that I have. The things that I tell myself. Children hear everything you say, and they mimic everything that you do. I challenge you to give them a great example, to give them an exceptional example. Because honestly, what you're hearing today, not a lot of teachers hear in their training. They get all sorts of training. So as I was briefly introducing you to the 7 principles, how many of you became aware of what you can change? What is one principle that you're willing to apply now, moving forward, to create a positive ripple effect? Perhaps you go, again, way deep inside of you and tell your inner child, I got this. I think I'm on the right track. It's that awareness. I'm giving you 2 minutes, and I'd like for you to write down, what did you become aware of? And which of the principles resonated with you first, and what is your intention for this upcoming week to alter your communication to be even more supportive and uplifting? Those were a lot of questions. I'm gonna repeat them. What did you become aware of? Which of the principles resonates with you most? And what is your intention for this upcoming week to alter your communication to be even more supportive and uplifting? 2 minutes. Who would like to share? Who'd like to share? Yes, please. Will you stand up and state your name?
I'm Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Okay, so, hi, Alita.
Hi.
Okay, I think this is really interesting that I'm here today because I really have been struggling. I don't know why, but the past few years I've been struggling with really being down on myself. And so at church on this past Sunday, I was really feeling terrible because I keep waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning just thinking about things that I'm doing wrong or things that I've done wrong in the past. And so at church, I actually made a covenant with God. And I know this sounds churchy, but anyway, that I would every time I had a negative thought about myself, I was going to replace it with a positive thought. And I was going to give that negative thought to God. And so,
give a round of applause for that.
So really all the things that you were saying, I mean, it applies to me as an individual, and I know that when I bring it into my classroom, it can only uplift my students. Yes. So thank you
for sharing that. Yes, give her a round of applause. That was phenomenal. You know, when we come from a place of gratitude of everything that we have and celebrate what's going right, then our mind can only entertain one thought. It can't entertain a negative and a positive thought at the same time. You can't beat yourself up and celebrate yourself at the same time. That's not how our brain works. So thank you for sharing that. Who else wants to share? One more. Yes, please. Please stand up and state your name.
My name is Emily.
Hi, Emily.
So, for me, it was also personal. I've kind of been in that same spot personally. And for me, the vulnerability and just forgiving myself, especially for things that are completely out of my control, but I continue to beat myself up about, back surgery, and I can't do this, and I can't do this, and, complaining to myself about how things aren't how I'd like them to be. But I can't control it, and just forgiving myself and having all of that negative energy away.
Yeah,
is
that's a great awareness.
I really
And I wanna-
need to, I'm gonna try to do this week.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Give her a round of applause. You know, that's the first step is awareness. You are not in control of that. You're just not. What are you going to do about it? If you whine about it, you know, it's not going to make you feel better. It's going to, you know, put you even further down. So I want to congratulate you for that awareness and making an agreement with yourself that this week, my intention is to make it better for me, because it does start with me. Me, exactly. So our time is up for today. I want to share one last thing with you. How many of you sign in here? Anyone signs in here? What does that mean? Does anyone know what that means? Amelie, what does it mean?
Can't.
Can't. It's a verbal, non-verbal slap on the fingers. So I want to leave this with you, that every time you tell yourself I can't, or you tell someone else they can't, to verbally and non-verbally and with your hands slap yourself on the fingers. This is can. This is can. And I want to encourage you to can. I want to thank you for your time today.